The Asset Langley's seventh floor hummed with the quiet intensity of a pit of hungry vipers. Deputy Director Rachel Morse, a woman whose stare could frost glass, studied the folder laid open before her. It contained 8x10 glossies of a man named Hassan al-Sharqawi. Not his real name, of course. The one he'd been born with was long buried, replaced by layers of legend and deception. "Hassan is a ghost," said the agent standing across from her desk. His name was Ryan, though that wasn't his real name either. Former SVR, turned freelancer. He's been feeding us tidbits for months. But this... Ryan tapped the photograph. "This is different. This is the name of a shipment weapons-grade uranium moving out of Grozny in 3 days." Morse's gaze flicked up, ice blue and hard. "What's his ask?" "The usual," Ryan said. "Extraction, relocation, the standard witness protection package." Morse leaned back in her chair, steepling her fingers. "And you believe him?" "I do," Ryan said. "Hassan's information has been solid. This has the feel of a desperate man, Deputy Director. He knows the risk in giving us this." Silence stretched out, the only sound the quiet thrum of the CIA seal embedded in the wall behind Morse's head. Finally, she spoke. "Approved. Get him out, and get that shipment intercepted. I'll brief the DOD myself." 2 days later, Grozny, Chechnya Ryan huddled in the back of a rusted Zhiguli, the car's false floor hiding him from any casual inspection. His phone buzzed, a text from the number he knew belonged to Hassan, a single word, Primaniye. The pre-arranged signal Hassan was in place. Ryan's driver, a local asset named Victor, met his gaze in the rear-view. "Primaniye da." Ryan nodded. Victor put the car in gear, easing them into the flow of traffic. The Primaniye Hotel was a crumbling monolith, a relic of better times. Ryan slipped out of the Zhiguli, his eyes scanning the street. No obvious tales, but that meant nothing. He wore the local attire, a black suit and open-collared shirt, but he stuck out. He was an American, and this was a city that didn't take kindly to Americans. The lobby was a dimly lit cave, the air thick with smoke and stale air. Ryan's heart hammered, but his hands were dry, his mind focused. This was the point of maximum vulnerability. He had to trust Hassan was waiting upstairs and that Langley was covering him from the shadows. The elevator creaked and groaned, spitting him into a long, poorly lit hallway. Room 217 was at the far end, the door slightly ajar. Ryan's pulse spiked. But he pushed inside, his hand resting on the butt of the pistol holstered at the small of his back. Hassan was already there, a thin man with a face like a hatchet blade. He looked up from his seat, and for a moment their gazes met. Then Hassan was on his feet, a small suitcase clutched in one hand. "The shipment." He began. "It's being taken care of," Ryan said. "We need to move now." They took the stairs, their footsteps echoing off bare concrete. The back door opened onto an alley, Victor waiting with the engine running. Ryan ushered Hassan in, then slid in behind him, his eyes scanning the rooftops as they pulled away. They drove in silence, Ryan's phone buzzing once with a text from an unknown number. A single word, clean. The uranium was being handled. Now it was about getting Hassan out of the country. 3 hours later, the outskirts of Grozny, a chartered King Air waited on a private airstrip, its engines whining. Ryan walked Hassan onto the plane, then turned back to Victor. "Take care," he said, pressing a roll of rubles into the man's hand. Victor just nodded and turned away. The plane lifted off, banking hard to the north. Ryan let out a breath, but his tension didn't ease. They were a long way from safe. He glanced sidelong at Hassan, who watched him with empty eyes. "You didn't survive in the spy game by being a hero or a villain, you just survived." "Time to start thinking about your new life," Ryan said. Hassan gave a small, mirthless smile. "I've been thinking about little else." The plane hit cruising altitude, and Ryan finally let himself relax. The mission wasn't finished, not by a long shot, but they were one step closer to being ghosts, lost in the vast machine of the United States Witness Protection Program, and that was the only way any of them would ever be safe.